All right, so what I want to work on next is a bass line. So, this has been what scared me about this whole song is this bass line, because for me, what's going on with the bass line means so much, and it's not always easy to be able to say, okay, it's going to be this or that. If it's going to be synth pop, synth pop is pretty. There's a synth pop bass line. It's it's a plucky, analog sounding, but not too analog sounding synth. So what we'll do is we're going to just see how this sounds on A here. All right, the first thing we have to do is if it's going to be synth poppy, and it might not be. We might, if while I'm doing some of the synth design, if I end up not using a synth sound, I might just edit that out and skip forward because it might, this video is going to be long. So first thing to do is I'm going to turn off the key tracking, turn on the filter, and bring the shape so it's really tight. Pretty tight like that. Again, I love tight sounds. Tight is good. A lot of synth pop was just this, But so we have a sound here. Now we're going to add some unison to it. And one of the things I've been really enjoying with Omnisphere is they added, so we have this analog knob and we have this drift knob and detunes. So with these all off, the detuning acts pretty much as you'd imagine. This is a very tight digital sound. And you get more detuned as you go, and you can add more depth if you want. But by using the drift, what that does, it'll cause the oscillators to drift out of key as I... Let's see if we can get a good one. You'll hear them behave kind of weirdly the more you increase that, which is so cool. And then what we'll do is we'll turn the detune off, but we'll turn the analog up and get to where it's really out of key sounding, so you can hear how wobbly it's getting even though the detune's all the way off. So we get this really kind of unstable sound, and we'll see if we can use this for something. I'm thinking it'd even get tighter. Right, like that. Or actually we'll leave it up towards about 100 hertz, but we'll tighten the decay. So we have kind of a cool thing. We can always play around with these a little. And of course we don't have to stay with just the kind of simple thing. So we could kind of look through some of these more crazy sounds. We could even play with modulating this, so let's try. We're going to modulate this with an LFO. We're going to bring this down so it's not a huge range. We're going to pick a reverse saw. No, we're not. We're going to pick a triangle, and we're going to set the point to the lowest, the low point, which would be 0.75 here. Come on, baby. So we'll sync it, and we'll set the rate to, whatever. So we're helping to get some movement in there. Now now what we can do, sorry for the nose, is add some wave shaping in here. I like to set this at the oscillator, so if I add a bunch of bit crushing at the amplifier level, you'll hear what it does. As the filter closes, there's not enough for the bit crusher to use and it just dies. But if we do it here, what's happening is it's before the filter. So a lot of times it actually be useful to turn this off for a second, so we can hear what we're doing. So it's nice. Let's do it. So we can get some pretty distorted shit going on. What the hell is that noise? Oh, I think is the drums? Yeah, the drums are still on. Hold this for a second. Pretty cool. See what I got. Okay, so what I want to do is just work with this for a second. Turn this off for a second. Find something that's cool. That's actually pretty cool. It gets kind of glassy. I've noticed that with a lot of these wave shapes. I don't know if it's an omnisphere thing or what, but they are very finicky. Can I go down an octave with these? Maybe I can? Well, it's hard to say. I mean, that's like the gnarliest sound I've ever heard. I don't know if it sounds weird, you know what I mean? Like, I've always had that trouble with this synth in particular with these sounds. A little bit of resonance actually helps. I don't know if it's just too fucked up, you know? Oh, it sounds a little bit better. That's better. It's a weird sound, isn't it, though? But maybe what we can do is we can take this sound, and what we'll do is we'll copy the layer, and we'll paste the layer. So now we have a copy, but what we'll do is we'll turn this off, or we'll actually find that virus saw I love so much. And now we have like a real... We have like a real, you know, kind of like a more normal sound to work with. And what we can actually do in here is bring the analog down a little bit. Bring the detune up a bit. Wow, that's really draggy. There we go. So for one thing, these are probably pretty loud right now. So let's bring this to 5 and I mean, it's a cool sound in its own way. It's a little fucked up. Now what we can do is we can link this, go to the amp, and we can actually even tighten things up. So again, I'm trying to get things very tight, because that way they'll groove better once we get it in the mix with the drums. So what I'm gonna do is unmute the drums here. It's really interesting. I mean, I kind of want to use it just because it's so different than what I've used before, especially with FD stuff, you know. Cool, actually. It's bizarre. I'm fucking blown away that it's even usable, but all right. So what we could do is we could go into, we could do the effects in Omni, which I like to do. But for this, especially because I'm sort of thinking of it as more of like a drum sound, I really just want to mix it in the drums more rather than make it a cool synth sound. The crazy thing is I think it actually needs to get tighter. That's pretty punchy, but it almost needs like a little bit of boost or something. I don't know how to like do that exactly. Let's look at this. Can I add a point? Let's see. Oh, I bet I can. See, I can add like a little hop. Look at that. That's crazy. Omnisphere, man. So we can tighten the curve here, and then what I'm gonna do is try this out a little. So what I'm trying to do is add like a microsecond of attack onto the front where it's just really in your face, you know what I mean? Like that's, you're gonna see we do this shit a lot, right? So it wouldn't be industrial if we didn't have some distortion. So I'm gonna use FabFilter Saturn. I have it default to set to clean tube, that's not how it normally defaults. Hey, something to think about too is I'm listening to this and I'm not listening in solo. I'm listening to it in the mix because I want to add the right amount. I don't want to make it sound cool on its own. I want to make it sound cool in the mix. Actually, this thought sounded pretty good right around here. Now what we can do is we can add a filter in here that'll cut out a lot of low end. We don't really need that rumble. And I'm listening in these headphones, so I could be way off with these decisions. I'm gonna go back and tweak stuff. So you'll notice I'm cutting before the distortion. I wanna give it a little bit more room. And then I'm gonna boost after. And that is critical. Now, I've been boosting a lot at 5K, and that's because cymbals, you need a lot of tight. But on something like this, we need anywhere from 5 to 3, anywhere in here. So I think somewhere around 1.5 is good. So it sounds a little less exciting. We need to give it some edge. Maybe not too much, you know. What we can do is we can add. That's great, but it's a little much. So we'll add another high shelf and we'll cut out a little bit of that 10K. Isn't that fucking nice? You can always add in a little bit more down here too if we need. So that's pretty aggressive for a bass line, but fuck it, you know. It's synth pop. What are you gonna do? What I wanna do for now is actually duplicate this. We'll save the sound real quick. We're gonna call it save patch as. We'll go into synth bass. Burn to ashes, since the song is Ashes of Stars. We can go in and we'll just put, you know, some, I don't really worry about these too much. Type, aggressive synths, analog, edgy, dance electronic, low, synth only, author, me. We'll save this, and what we'll do is we'll load this up on what do we have here? We'll load it up and we'll use it and we'll go to the main and we'll go up an octave. And what we'll do is we'll copy the effects that we have on the one output onto the next one. And what we will also do actually is instead of using MIDI 2, I'll leave this here for now, but what we're going to do is send the MIDI to, oh, we can do, what is it? I need to add a new send to MIDI 3, and we're not going to send audio, and we're going to send all to MIDI 3. I think this will do it. I don't think it did. So let's just try all to all, see what happens. So now we have it up an octave. So on its own, and then up and with the up an octave. And we can bring this down and blend it in. It's pretty cool. Let's try to make sure to leave the drums up front though. So it's got some of that synth pop to it because it's still, we're talking plucky synth, but it's a little aggressive, you know, it's a little modern, it's a little different. It's really tight, whereas most synth pop's really kind of floppy. Real edgy. And we can, especially if we can get some like orchestral stuff over the top of it, it'll be really great. So we have a problem now, which is that I have two outputs and I want to tweak the EQ. So I'm going to insert a new track. I'm going to open the routing matrix and I'm going to find and disable the parent sends on Omnisphere B and C, which are the bass line. No, I don't hear anything. And we'll route it to my new track. So we're going to call this Omnisphere bassline. It'll auto color, and now we can add some re-EQ. There's a mid-range frequency I gotta fucking figure out. But it's amazing how just that little difference makes a huge impact on the annoyingness.